I'm Meg McCall. I'm the owner of Angle Oar, and today I'm going to show you how to assemble your Versa paddle system when you purchase it with the hinged mount for sit-inside kayaks. This is an example of what you'll receive when you order one, and I'm going to review all of the parts that are included inside and show you how to assemble them. Now, we do have a companion video that shows you how to put the mount onto the kayak itself, but for today we're just going to go over the assembly of the paddle system. When you receive your Versa paddle system with the hinge mount, it'll have all of these components. They may be packaged slightly differently, but all of the pieces should be in there. The main thing is that we have printed instructions. There'll also be a link to see these both online in a printed format or as a video, so I encourage you to look at those. There's some additional tips in there that are very helpful. You'll also get the horizontal and vertical arm of the hinge mount itself, and shortly I'll be assembling these so you can see how they go together, as well as the left and right tubes that form the angled component of the Versa paddle. You'll also receive our support post, which comes mounted into a track with adjustable knobs to be able to move it in the track itself on the hinge mount. You'll get a clevis. Most of our clevises have this ring that you can use to attach a tether from here onto the hinge mount itself, so that in the event this came off, it won't fall into the water. There's also a hardware pack, and we'll go through what's in there in a moment. And you'll get 2 ram mount end knobs. These go onto the side arms of our hinge mount. And then finally, you'll be getting the Versa paddle. This one is our chartreuse color. We also have turquoise, and you can't see it yet, but there are 3 placement holes in each of these shafts. Our first step is to put together the hinge mount. There are 2 main pieces. There's what we call a vertical bar and a horizontal bar. There are 2 compression nuts on this one and a third on the vertical bar, and those are used simply to loosen or tighten the nut so that you can widen or make more narrow the side arms across the cockpit, and then likewise the arm that goes toward the front of the cockpit. And once you have those tightened in the right position for your cockpit or your kayak, you probably won't need to adjust them again unless you're moving them to a different kayak. This vertical bar came with a bolt and a molded plastic piece already inserted it, so I've simply unscrewed it and will attach it to the horizontal bar. It doesn't matter which way you turn this, it'll work either way, and I'm simply aligning the holes and putting the bolt through. And you can finger tighten this pretty much the entire way. However, we do include this hex wrench in your hardware packet, so if you'd like to, you can do the final tightening that way. Don't over tighten it, but do make sure it's secure. There shouldn't be any wobbling. I'd hang on to this because you might need to tighten this up from time to time. And as you can see, now you've got the basics of the hinge mount itself, and you can use the compression nuts to adjust the width and the length. Now, the 2 ram caps go onto the end of these bars, and that is so that this round piece here fits into the half cup of the stabilizing bracket on the side of the coaming. So we're not going to show that step here, but you can put them on loosely as you're putting this together to make sure it's a good fit. And then once everything is good and you think this is going to fit well on your kayak, you can use an adhesive just to keep it on there more permanently. With these 2 pieces of the hinge mount put together, you can slide on your support post into the track. These adjustable knobs allow you to raise and lower these T-nuts, which simply slide into the tracks there. Once those are in, you simply tighten the knobs in the desired position. And again, this gives you up to 6 inches of leeway in total. So if you have longer arms, you can push it back a little bit. If you have someone who's a little shorter, you can draw it up closer to you. And likewise, with this vertical bar, you can also lengthen it and bring it closer to you that way as well. The final step here is simply to take the clevis post and put it on your support post, and that rotates about the post. As I mentioned earlier, if yours has a ring, you can attach a tether, wrap it around this bar. It'll still be able to rotate, but you won't lose it in the water. The other thing I wanted to show you is that this hinge plate is removable. You pull out this D-ring, the plate comes off, that remains on your kayak, and then you can move the hinge mount to a different kayak. And so what would remain on the kayak is simply this plate in front and then the two brackets on the side. So if you want to get an extra set of attachment hardware so you can move this to two different kayaks, that's a great idea. Assuming your mount is together and it fits your kayak, it's time to put together your Versa paddle assembly. Now, in some cases, this will already be pre-assembled for you when you receive it, but in most cases, you'll have to put these two pieces together. We call them the right and the left hub. Now, on the left hub, you may not be able to see it very well. There are two holes. One is a shallow hole, and that receives the pin that allows you to angle the Versa paddle, and the other one has a small set screw inside of there. And what that is a small screw that when this steel pin is inserted, that screw gets tightened with this Allen wrench that is also included in your packet to make sure that the pin stays snug in there. And I will say that from time to time, even once that's in there, that pin can loosen a little bit, so hang on to the Allen wrench and then you can tighten it if need be. It's a good idea to check it before you go on your next outing. So we're simply going to take the right one as you're looking from behind. My right is this thumb pin, and this left one has the two holes in it. You align the holes like that. And this steel pin has a small flat area on it. It's not critical, but ideally you're having that flat surface face inside where the set screw will tighten onto it. And so you put in the end of the Allen wrench and you give it a few turns. You want it snug, but again, don't over tighten. And that pin is very snug in place. And now you use the thumb pin here to adjust this pin. So that would be the angled position and that would be the straight position. And you can practice that on dry land if you'd like, just to get used to how it functions. With this central hub attached, it's time to add the Versa paddle blades. I did want to point out that there is a push pin on each of the lower sides of this, and again, from your own vantage point, the thumb pin will be on the right. And here I've got the turquoise Versa paddle blades, and what I tell people is, as you're looking at it from this vantage point with the thumb pin on the right, you should be able to read the Angle Oar logo in an upward position, and that way you know you have the correct blade on the correct side. You might put them on the wrong side the first time, and it's not that big of a deal. You just swap them out. You simply press the pin, push it in there, and to start with, I just recommend going to the shortest distance. That just makes the whole blade a little bit more easy to handle while you're trying it out on your kayak. Put this one in. For this installation, I have them at the two shortest points. Now, if you go to the mid or the longest points, this blade will range in length from 220 to 255 centimeters. So part of that will depend on the paddler, part of it will depend on how wide the kayak is and how far you are off the water. Now, this is the part that sometimes takes a little practice to get the first time. To angle this, your inclination might be just to hold this with one thumb and try to pull on it. Well, the pressure on this left blade is preventing that from moving on its own. So what I recommend is you just put one hand under the left side and then pull it back, and then you can adjust it. And so keep your hands on both sides as you do it back and forth. It works very easily, but as I said, it might take a little practice the first time. With the Versa paddle assembled, and assuming you have either the hinge mount or the apex mount or one of our other mounts, it's time to put the steel pin into the clevis post. Now, I recommend that you put the paddle into the post when you're holding the post, as opposed to putting the post on there and then putting the paddle in. You can do it either way. I just find I have a little bit more control if I do it this way. And what I like to do is hold it against my abdomen, slide the two steel pins in there, and give it a good snap. Now, this is really in there and it's very difficult to get out at times, and that's by design, because as this is rotating about the post, you don't want that coming out. But just know that it may require some extra effort to actually pull it out of there, and that's okay. You do have the ability to file those clamps a little bit down, but I'd avoid doing that unless it's absolutely necessary, because you want that to be tight. You've got it on the support post, you're ready to go. And again, the idea is that you're doing a slight downward pressure as you're paddling the Versa paddle, and that prevents the whole clevis from coming up. If you're lifting and paddling, this is going to happen. But if you pay attention to your form and you think of more of a downward pressure on each side as you do each stroke, you shouldn't have any problem. The other thing I wanted to mention is that sometimes paddlers will have a tendency to go up and down like this as opposed to a full stroke. So just remember when you're doing the stroke, and whether it's straight or angled, this is true, to pull the blade all the way forward and then back through the water, as opposed to this up and down motion that I sometimes see. If you have any questions, we've got videos, we've got written instructions, we've got customer demos. You can find out more about this mount and our other mounts on our website at www.angleoar.com. Thanks so much.